Hey guys, I'm going to share a portion of a webinar that we had with well-known architect Ross Chapman with you when I return on the Eric McNeil Be Free Show.
Black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Hey guys, welcome. You've just discovered the Eric McNeil Be Free Show, where it's all about being financially independent, responsible for self, enjoying life, and empowering others free. So I told you previously that we were going to be using the well-known architect Ross Chapin, who wrote the book The Pocket Neighborhood. So he came up with this concept of pocket neighborhoods, and we have actually hired him to give us an extensive breakdown of his vision and to look over what we're doing in Migrating Culture Crossing. So we had an extensive webinar, and I'm just going to share a small portion of that webinar with you to give you an idea of how he thinks about community and neighborhoods. So let's get right into it. Okay? All right. Yep. All right. So we got it. All right. So very good. All right. So again, Ross, thank you. For participating with us. I know you're very busy from what I've seen, and Shannon told me you had projects for years out that you're trying to complete. So that's a very good problem to have.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Let me give you. I just want to respect your time, and we've got a number of things to cover, and I'm trying to figure out the way into this. For me, I have been really appreciating what you have out online, your website, your some of your videos that you have, understanding the vision of what you're trying to create. The idea of creating this community of people coming in, and you are building eco-friendly homes and community is really stunning. It's great.
Thank you.
A little bit of my background. I have been primarily an architect, a land planner. I've spent a good bit of time building as well. I grew up in Minnesota. So if you're from Alabama, you know a little bit. It's cold and it's also warm. But the key piece here is that I grew up in a coherent community that was built actually by a group of friends and their friends and friends of friends back at the turn of the 1900s. And the house is still in my family, big wraparound porches, a lot of them small, modest houses, nothing really large, but a coherent neighborhood. And when I was coming into my own in my 20s, the sprawl across America was appalling. And I was seeing that there was placeless, numb, all the same kind of sprawl. And supposedly built because these were economic houses, but in America, it's bigger the better. And you can, the farther you drive from the city, the until you afford it, then there you are, but you're then tied in with a car. So I've lived for 40 years in this community where I'm at, on an island, small community, forest, agricultural community, kind of marginal. It's not at any crossroads. Although if you take the ferry, the Microsoft headquarters is about 10 miles away.
Yeah,
so the ferry stops it, but we're right near Microsoft. We're right near Amazon.
Right near Redmond.
We're right near Redmond.
Yep. I worked there. Yep, and I worked there when I was in college. I was there.
Yeah, we're right near Boeing. Boeing is right across the water, so we get all that. So that's great. What happens is that in America, our zoning basically is promoting garage-fronted homes that are all isolated throughout. So I helped put together a zoning code that would give incentives to build smaller, thoughtful homes in a community setting and gave the incentive of doing double the number of homes on any residential parcel if they have those aspects. So we did that.
Okay.
And then that shifted me into being a developer on 7 different projects.
Right.
And then since then, the media has picked up on it, and I didn't realize that it tapped into our such a innate desire for energy efficient, closely tied sense of community.
Right.
And so we are in newspapers and media around the country and around the world. And so for the last 25 years, I'm realizing that everything I do is being looked at. So I'm going, okay, what is it that I can do that actually shifts the needle for how we do it? Exactly. That actually can inspire by doing. I've written some things, of course, the Pocket Neighborhood book, my website, that's great. But a lot of what helps this movement is actual places built. So that's a little bit of the context. And my whole thing is we are in a time when I think we need community. We need to live, certainly more lightly on the earth, in more connection with the earth, closer ties to our food, but certainly a sense of community. And exactly. That to me is critical at this time. When the world is in such commotion, having that. So in doing this for all these years, I've learned a few things about that. Oh, and here's Brandon.
Yeah.
And we'll wait for just a minute, coming in. You see him coming in on your end?
Yep, I see him coming. He's trying to connect. We'll see how the connection goes.
Okay, good. Was Brandon, was he from the US as well? Or did he just come over?
No, he's from Florida.
From Florida?
Yeah, from Florida.
All right. And your network over there, are there a lot of people from elsewhere coming into Ghana?
Yeah, yes, they are. Ghana is considered the gateway of Africa because, it's so similar to the West that a lot of people, if they want to come to Africa, they usually come to Ghana first.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Hey, sorry about that. I was having a hard time getting network out here, so I had to drive up the road a little bit, but I'm glad to be here.
Yep, I
so
figured
you lick your finger, you lick your finger and put it up in the air and you got a better antenna? Is that it?
No, I had to drive about a mile. We're deep in the countryside, and it just really wasn't working today. So I had to drive about a mile, but we'll transform it. So yeah. But it's definitely a pleasure to be here and to be on with you all.
It's a real pleasure for me. I've been learning a lot, and it's curious that I've had a number of I don't know if there's synchronicities, but I'm paying attention to them. Both calls as well as projects that I'm involved in from around. I was just mentioning to Eric that I have, in my background, I have primarily trained as an architect, but I've also been a builder, a developer, and then in the last 20 some years, not only doing my own projects, but I'm helping support others do theirs. So most of my clients are developers, actually. I've done many different kinds of design, but right now in my life, I'm just focusing in on community-oriented development because I think that's what's needed to shift the dial of culture, away from bigger consumerism, away from people with their own sense of success, but it's an isolated success. I think if we really want resilience, if we really want to have something that gives us a sense of meaning and belonging, I think community is part of it. And so that's what drives me. I've been involved in eco-type developments in building for many, many years. In 1972, if you can believe it then, in my first year in college, we took on to build a completely off-the-grid house in Minnesota.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
earth sheltered. It was active solar, passive solar. We worked with a local farmer to get a windmill going to supply electricity. We worked with surplus World War II batteries to put power into. It was Clivus Multrum composting system. It used Ofuru type Japanese water for tubs for bathing. It had gardens and farms right there. In 1972
Nice.
and 3 before the oil embargo.
Wow.
And I've done quite a few eco building projects over the years, but my antenna is significantly up. I mean, I say green is given. Yes, of course we build green. We orient our houses appropriately for where we are, to the sun, to the wind.
Right.
We shield ourselves from the extremes, from heat and cold in different ways. But my antenna, and that's given, my antenna is up for how is it that we come together and we relate in community with enough sense of privacy and personal space that we have a home for ourselves and for our families. And then we come together with nearby neighbors in ways that are easy. And then beyond that, the wider community comes together. And so there are these scales of community. And my antenna is up for how that can happen, design-wise, but also how does that feel when we're in it? As I'm designing, I am the 3-year-old curious going out the door.
Right.
And where do I go to? Who do I play with? Who do I see? Is it dangerous? Is it not?
Exactly.
Or yeah. I'm the single mom and trying to take care of everything, and it's too much, and knowing that I've got others around that can support. Or I'm an aging person who can't get up to clean the gutters, and I can't get out to get in the car after dark to go out to the shop or whatever. And so I embody that. I feel that. That's how I design. That's my approach, if you will. So that's where I'm coming from.
Got you.
What I'm seeing is scale is really significant. So here's what I mean. Eco building is one thing. We can draw upon materials, we can build right, we can build incrementally, energy efficiently, sustainably, all of that. When we jump in scale to clusters, to wider communities, it's not just like, oh, we've succeeded with, did we lose Brandon? I see you're frozen, but you may still be on.
Hey, Brandon, can you hear us?
Okay.
Brandon,
This is being recorded. We can keep going too.
Yeah, and I'll tell him if I'll also send him a message saying he needs to maybe just take his video off.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds like he's going to come back in.
Okay. Yeah.
So how is the internet where you are? Are you getting it outside in certain spots or what?
Yeah, it's just certain spots. I mean, and like typically around the city, like I just recently, when I sold my house, I moved back into the city because I wanted to market more to the local community. So where I'm at, I have no problems. I actually have a fiber connection. So
yeah,
fiber.
Any chance of getting fiber optic out to your site?
We're going to put our own internet into the community. My background is IT. I have a degree in IT, and I owned a computer networking company for many years. So, so that's the one thing, yeah, we'll have our own internet connection. We'll pull fiber from one of the big carriers out there directly from the tower into the community. So
That's great.
yeah, because a lot of people have, they've told us that, Eric, if we're coming out there, way out here, we need a serious internet connection because a lot of our work is on the internet now. So yeah, so I've assured them that we will have a decent internet connection out there. But for the time being, it's not, it's, it's hit or miss out there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just continue, and then we'll just
yeah, we can go ahead and continue.
The piece. So what I'm going to do, I just want to say that scale is important, and my concern is if you take something that's successful at the house level, and you say, great, and maybe pocket neighborhoods have been successful. So to then say, oh, great, repeat. It's easy on a computer. But in terms of the social, the interpersonal environment, the governance, transportation issues, you come into a whole set of different patterns to do that. And I see Brandon is coming back. And it looks like, okay. Hey, would it be better if you connected without video? Would that help your connection?
Yeah, Brandon, if you're having problems, remove your video and it'll give you more.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're having problems, Brandon, remove your video and it'll give you more bandwidth for your audio and your connection.
Very good idea. There we go. Yeah, very good idea.
Okay. I know you're there. I know you're there. Yeah. So what I was saying, that scale is really something. You can be successful at a small building scale, but when you shift scale to 5 acres, 40 acres, 200 acres, you come into different levels of other patterns that come into play. And so what I'm going to try to do in my presentation is to show what happens at those other levels of scale and how to begin to think about it. So the last piece before I begin this I've got a short series of slides here, is that we are involved in building. So think about hardware. We're creating the hardware. The people that actually live there, they're really not interested in the hardware. And the hardware is great, but it's background. They're interested in what can I do with the software. And when you've got software and what can you do with the software, it's a whole other set of patterns, if you will, a whole other set of relationships that come into play. Now that we're neighbors, now that we've built it, okay, how do we get along? How do we make decisions? At what level of scale? For our own little house, our cluster, the wider community, how do we resolve disputes? Dogs, noise, water, repairs, you name it. There's going to be something. How do you get into that so you don't get into the oppositional kind of thing that is often typical? I think we can bypass that. There can be a culture of community that has caring at its base, that has respect at its base. But to do that, it takes beginning to bring that side of it in early along in the game. So we are, if you're involved in building, you're focused in on the challenges of building. It's a huge, huge task. But this other piece, to begin to seed its success early in the game, is key. So we'll get back to that. I'm going to jump. Any questions before we get into a few slides?
Not for me.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good so far. I mean, this is wonderful. So yep, yep.
Hey, Brandon, I am really impressed. I looked through the slides of some of the stuff you've been building. It is awesome.
Thank you very, very much. I mean, let me jump in real fast because this is an honor and a pleasure to be speaking with you and the work that you've done. You know, I would really say I'm still really early in my career. You know, I'm 40, you know, and I'm architecturally trained and I'm at a really unique place and I have a wonderful opportunity. So it's one of these things that this has been my dream for so long, and for it to be coming into fruition, and then all of the pieces of the puzzle and the right people are coming into place. I'm very, very excited about what we have, and I'm just it's an honor to have you on and even to be able to pick your brain and get some insight. So please feel free and know that everything that you share with us is really, really going to go to a wonderful intent.
Yeah, yeah. How did you hear about Pocket Neighborhoods?
Well, it was through research. You know, to be honest, I have been building, you know, I'm architecturally trained, and what I found was I was designing these eco-friendly homes and I couldn't find anybody to build them. And so I had to evolve into the builder. And really what happened, and I'm going to try to make the story short, was I was building individually for people one at a time. And what these people didn't realize was that they were all yearning for community. And so the idea was, how could I now scale up to these clusters? And that was the first ideology, was clusters. And so through that research, that's how I came to the Pocket community. And I realized that, no, that really embodies exactly what we talk about. It's changing the scale of our architecture and bringing back in the community. Our community has really been lost in a lot of sense with suburban neighborhoods and even cities and everything. So that Pocket really links all those houses together and really not challenges, but brings those people together in a communal sense. And I think also additionally with the context of, say, African architecture, their focus is really communal, the way their houses are set up, the way their villages are set up. So I think that too kind of draws from it. So I really kind of came across it through research, and I just thought it was a wonderful thing. And so now the challenge with us, and I think you just started to touch on it, is scale. You know, our scale now is so large that we're still really trying to utilize it, but with a number of Pocket communities within one. And I think that's going to be a whole nother unique thing, but that's the scale. Originally, you know, I would have assumed my scale would have been smaller, but we've been fortunate to get this wonderful opportunity and really plan on a larger scale, but we still want to have these ideologies of a small scale thinking so that we don't get lost in kind of what's already been happening.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's a good place to be at. It's also, you both have a terrific, you bring together different skills and come together with kinds of intentions that are really synergistic, to come at this with hands-on building skill, to come on it with the sense of the community that's needed. I think you can then begin to unfold this in a way that has integrity, that has coherence, that has wholeness.
Yes,
So,
yes, indeed.
yeah. So I'm going to jump into a series of slides. We'll see if this works. I'm going to share screen, desktop, and I'm guessing are you seeing the site that you sent me?
Yep. Right.
Okay, that's the one we're on. Okay, now tell me what you're seeing next.
So
are you seeing one image or sort of
the three images with my house in it, the Migrating Culture Crossing.
Yeah. Right. Okay, well, I just nabbed these to kind of help your house, but also some others. And that, I think the picture on the right is from the eco village that you're a part of, Brandon, or came, I'm not sure. But anyway, later on, we'll talk about eco villages and about how this connects in permaculture and that kind of thing. So we'll continue with that. What I want to do right now is to get into a series of images around Pocket neighborhoods. And it's about scale. They're small scale communities in a larger scale world. Now you could say, yeah, larger scale is in, the numbness that happens in America. I think Africa perhaps has its own version as they adopt the Western approaches that,
exactly.
that aren't really healthy.
Yeah.
If they would trust, what they know originally, I think that they're better ahead.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. Yeah.
I want to get back to something that is so basic. We're social creatures, and there's a scale to sociability. We gather, we gather in twos and threes and fives, eights. We gather together in wider communities, but at the scale of a group, we come together with those right around us, and conversation is spontaneous. And so you'll see here around the table, and you'll know from your own gatherings, it might be a big long table. You toast the gathering, the birthday kid, whatever, and then it breaks up and conversations just pick up with those around you. It's what we do.
Exactly.
When we carry this into the physical environment, this becomes the scale of sociability. There are places that hold our conversations, that encourage our conversations, that bring us into conversation together. By the way, are these slides progressing relatively easily, or are they jumpy?
Oh, no, they're going through fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they look good for me too.
Oh, great, great. So, and Brandon, are you seeing this on a little tiny phone?
Yep, I'm seeing it.
And you're still okay with it?
Yep, I'm good, and I think it's recording, so I'll be able to watch it later as well on my laptop.
There you go. There you go. So pocket neighborhoods are designed with this in mind. Clusters of 4 to maybe 12, and any more than that, begin to carry that size forward. I'll show you how that works. But in a pocket neighborhood, you can have houses coming together with a sense of community around a shared commons. If it grows between 12 or 16, the neighbors are too far away to be neighborly on a daily basis, and so it shifts. Mm-hmm. So this is a community that we built in Kirkland, actually 4 miles from the Microsoft headquarters, and what we did was to work with the city to come up with a code to give an incentive to build at a higher density if there's size limited to houses around shared space. So we built 10 houses from 700 square feet to about 1,500 square feet. And then we built another series of houses that's in its own pocket, connected by a walkway. Cars are there, but they're not dominant.
Right.
Jumping significantly, this is a project that we're involved in right now in Hilo, Hawaii. And we've got 95 units of affordable homes right near Hilo. And these are homes that are in duplexes and triplexes, and they're in scale, the scale of sociability. So you've got, 5, 8, 10 units coming together, all connected by pathways, cars between, and at the very center is the neighborhood commons, gathering places, and a hard court. Pocket neighborhood, it's a term that I came up with years ago, and I think in some ways it's good, but it's a little bit, it gets confused with neighborhood. But neighborhood is a place that might have several hundred houses. You're likely not going to know everyone in the neighborhood. You certainly don't have a relationship with them on a daily basis, but you will know a few.
Right.
And it's known by landmarks. In a pocket neighborhood, neighbors are on a first name basis. They're the ones that they might see you across the way, or they might call for help. They're right there. If you've got a single woman, she's got a cat, she's going off to visit her sister, her cat's not coming, well, her cat's going to be fine because she's got neighbors. Or here's a single mom, a couple of kids, she's gotten home from the store, finally gotten the kids asleep, and oh my God, I forgot my purse. And a neighbor covers for her. She can either go off or a neighbor will go and pick it up. She can do that because she's got close neighbors. Or this fellow, when I came to, this is a place in Pasadena, an old historic 100-year-old cottage court. And he was thinking about getting up on his roof to clear his gutters. And the fellow from across the way said, "Hey, Joe, he's there noticing it." So Joe's not going to get up cleaning his gutters, but John is happy to do it.
Right, right.
This is the world in America. You got public streets and private backyards. This is the American dream of independence, and it's gone to an extreme. In a pocket neighborhood, it expands an intermediate space between the public street and the private home. And this is the place for nodding hellos, as you walk back, or a chat on the porch. This is the place where casual conversation might grow into a caring relationship, a meaningful sense of community. And it's fostered by the fact that there's shared space. Kids, as I mentioned before, they naturally want to expand. When your home place can expand with your own developmental horizons are matched by the physical horizons, then I think you've got a healthy child. If you're on lockdown from 4 years old to 16 years old when you get your license, that puts the parents and the kids into attention. Between the parents get to be chauffeurs and gophers and are in fear about the kids wandering out, and the kids are on lockdown, just not free range.
Mm-hmm.
Or this fellow who, in this community that he was living in, he felt so comfortable because he knows that if he's out walking from his car to his home and he takes a stumble, he's not going to be stuck.
Right.
To be others around. These are pockets of nearby neighbors. That's the gist of this whole thing. It's not about style. It's not about cute cottages. It's about the numbers of people coming together around some kind of shared commons and doing so in a way that preserves and protects privacy and personal space. I'll get into that in a little bit. I'm going to show some pocket neighborhoods, small, medium, and large. Your land is certainly on the large side, so we'll get into taking a look at what that takes to do. This is the 3rd Street cottages, the first one that we designed and built in 1990, I think it's 97 or so, 98. Okay. And a series of 8 cottages and a common house on 4 lots. And cars tucked in. We get into the details, but we realized when we built this is that there was naturally this scale of sociability. The houses opened to their own private yard, and yet there were no windows on the north side. So they opened to the south, windows, so it had private, it had a little secluded back spot in some of these places. We'll get into some of these patterns and how they work.
Right.
Here's another one that is related. Again, a single pocket with an alley. And so you got houses that engage the street. You've got a commons. You got a tool shed, a place for barbecue, picnic table, bicycles, community garden, all in a very precise small space. It works very efficiently, and yet it feels much larger than it is. Right. This is one that we designed in Massachusetts, and the front houses engage the street. They are old historic houses. And we came in back and we parked and we come into a shared commons where the porches are toward the center, a little pavilion, community garden in the watershed of the river down below, so that they can have a big garden, and everybody has private side yards. Again, a single cluster. This is in Oklahoma. And you've got houses that engage the street with porches, but then back porches that open out to a shared commons. You've got an alley with cars that are tucked in with garages. These are existing houses that get woven in to the community with community garden. Again, trying to do it in a way that cars don't dominate. This is a drawing that I did showing what that looks like. It could be comfortable in any small town neighborhood, but it's radically different in the way that it opens out to this great backyard. I mean, what kid wouldn't have such a great time? Exactly. And parents hanging out, you know, around the barbecue. And what wider neighborhood wouldn't love to have this in their neighborhood? Yeah. So the idea of resistance falls apart when you've got places like this. Right, right. So the homes have engaged, this is the street, a porch on the street, but it also has a back porch engaging the commons. I worked in designing this community in Arizona, and this is a community for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And that's the one that we saw that intrigued us. So yeah. So this drawing that I made shows the common house. And what's intriguing about this is that you see the street out in front, guests come in. It could be institutional, but it's not. You come in from the street, the guest really, I'll show you in the thing, there's a lot of parking here because that's what the city required. But the cars are tucked away, guests come in, they're hidden from the street under a berm. This is more like a big house and then these others are smaller houses. We have here 2 clusters. Here you can see coming off the street. These, you might see the tops of the cars from the street, but basically you come in, park here, and you scoot out. Residents can come in through here. It needs to be, because of the challenges with some of the residents, it does need to be a gated community, but it's done so in a way that you don't even feel it. And between the two, there's a direct connection. People with autism spectrum issues oftentimes have a hard time with orientation. So this is really clear orientation. These, even though this is maybe one larger cluster, it is broken up into sort of relatable ends of the cluster, and then they connect together. So you see how the scale of sociability continues when you go from 8 units to 16 to 30 some units. Right. This is the commons. These were the images that were created for it. It's actually built now and looks pretty good. You know, I mean, it doesn't show that it's 110 degrees in the summer. Nice, very nice. So style, you know, this could be in a desert style. It could be in an African style. It could be in a style of the Northwest. This is in right near Philadelphia and right near Camden, New Jersey. This is right outside there. This is one of the last pieces of larger land, and the owner of the land wants to create this as a community center and work with this as a way to provide multi-generational mixed income housing. And so this is the first sketches that I've done with a senior housing on one end, assisted living, housing for families, for individuals through here. And here you'll see the clusters of sociability. It has a main street, and what we did, so you look at this, take note of this in terms of scale, because you've got levels of streets. So you've got the main street with more traffic, and then you've got a loop, which is the local neighborhood street. And then you've got the lanes, and then you've got the driveways. And so you got those different levels, and there's different ways to design those. The street has on-street parking, and for the most part does not have any driveways to garages. That happens on the lanes. And the lanes also have people on them. And then beyond that, there's a whole network of walking ways.
Wow.
And greenways. And when you look at it all together, this is the pattern of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's complex and yet understandable and simple. You work with the scale from house and walkways to lanes to streets to wider streets to the wider community. So that's one of the ways to think about a larger site and how it works. This is a site in Oklahoma. And what you're seeing here will be the pockets. You've got rental housing here and here. You've got homes with parking attached from the back and opening to a shared commons. You've got the center here, which is homes with porches engaging the street, but back doors opening onto a shared commons, and so forth. You've got a neighborhood center with a pool, a play area. You've got retail engaging the wider neighborhood. You've got the bigger, wider neighborhood street. You've got the local neighborhood streets. Again, for the most part, with no garage doors.
Right.
Not always the case, but that's like here in this one. These are homes where we tuck the garages back, but this is a kind of a sub, it's almost like a lane.
Right. Okay.
And then we've got my mouse decided to lose its battery here. Okay, let's see if I can get that back. So now here you're seeing coming in the walkways and the green spaces. You see how this is built up?
Yeah.
And so here we've got, then this is coming in to show the pattern of the wider community. So I've been talking about patterns, and these are a series of design patterns, yes, for community, but also for privacy, and from the larger scale to the smaller scale. So you've got, it's nested within a wider neighborhood, scale of sociability. It's a community of pocket neighborhoods, a variety of roads, a network of walkways, and then layers of personal space and nested houses. Common areas, a tapestry of walkways and greens, streets, porches. So do either of you know of Christopher Alexander's A Pattern Language book?
No.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, I'll note this to you and I'll send it along, because I think this is going to be a key to understanding where I'm coming from, but also is an amazing resource, I think, for you to think about how to go from house scale to community scale.
Okay, okay, wonderful.
I'd like to talk about, I can go into this in a lot of depth, but this is a slightly shorter version. These are the 8 key design patterns. And if you name them, then you can use them. If you don't name them, you might begin to think about them. You'll have a difficult time maybe communicating them. People feel them, but when you name them, then they become part of the design. So I named the scale of sociability. That term came out in a conversation much like this. I said, you know, in a small circle, there's a scale of sociability. Oh, huh, okay, take that, name it. And so this names this idea that this is pocket neighborhoods. We're designed around these and around shared commons. And the shared commons, you know, might be a green, it might be, you know, gathering place, whatever. This is the shared commons. And it has common buildings. Might be a tool shed. How many lawnmowers do you need? Maybe you don't even need a lawnmower, but, you know, rakes and shovels. You know, a community garden, wonderful for sharing. A barbecue, an outdoor fireplace. Or maybe if a community can afford the amenity, a common house.
Yeah.
Maybe the common house is a little bigger. Maybe there's a guest room because the buildings might be on the snug end. They don't. Everybody doesn't have to have, that third or fourth bedroom for the visiting family that comes every once a year, twice a year. There can be a little guest house that's shared. So you can all share in that and spend less money. A room-sized porch. This is the key pattern between house and the cluster. This porch is part of the wider public community, semi-private public community, and the house. And if you make it big enough to be a room, to be a usable room, make it a place where you can sit with a cup of coffee, with a book, to have friends, to eat out here.
Right.
That's the key. Make it big enough and have it in the proper relationship. It's an art. That's Brandon, if you're involved in design, and both you guys are from Alabama and Florida, and you know about houses built before the thermostat age, they had porches, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When thermostats and televisions came, porches just were jettisoned, and people just lived, with air conditioning inside, and they didn't need it, supposedly. Well, what happens is that we don't think we need it until we become isolated, to the point that we're lonely, to the point that our lives become not only dysfunctional, but we have challenges mentally, emotionally, physically. So community is great. I'm all for community. But without privacy, community can become claustrophobic. And so to counter that, I've got a pattern called the layers of personal space. And so if this is the commons, between where this woman is and the front door are 5 layers. A low hedge, a fence that I could step over. It marks personal territory. When you cross that threshold, you're crossing into a private yard.
Right.
People control it. They can do whatever they want there. You step up onto the porch. The front of the porch, you don't technically have to have a railing, but the railing is there to provide a layer, to provide a place for planting flowers, whatever, lovely, but it's also part of a layering. The porch is a room. And then when the home is in a place that's protected, you don't need a barricade for a front door. The door can be, the top could open, so it's half open, half closed. And it comes into the active part of the house, the kitchen, the dining, the living room. And when you get farther back in the house, you've got the bedroom, the den, the secluded garden. You've got a more private side yard and a more public side yard and a more private backyard, side yard. The layers of personal space. And when you design the houses, if they are designed so that one side opens to the side yard, and in our world, you've got it, if the property line is within 5 feet of the house, you've got to have a fire protected wall. Also, a 5-foot side yard is no use. So when you have the yard technically used by the neighbor, the whole yard, that's a usable yard in a way that, and when I'm waking up in the morning, say here in a bedroom, if I open the curtains, I'm not seeing you look at me, surprised at looking you. It's like, oh my God, that makes density awful.
Right.
And the challenging piece here is that you can have a wonderfully designed house standing on its own. If that wonderfully designed house is stamped out 12 times, yeah, you've got a pocket neighborhood. But if that house has windows from a bedroom opening up to the kitchen or another bedroom, those houses don't fit together. They're not nested. They don't dovetail.
Right.
And this is really key. This is, Brandon, where individual home design meets neighborhood design.
Yep. Yep.
Cars can destroy our world. So I call this one corralling the car. The pedestrian space, the pedestrian world is key. Even if it's part of a lane, bring the mailboxes in, bring a common house in, have it next to a community garden. Fine, have cars, but they're going at 2 miles an hour, and they're going at the respect of the people who are there walking. So if possible, I like to have cars parked away from the houses, like here, and you walk through an opening, through a shared commons to your door. Sometimes you have attached, and I'll show you how those work. Eyes on shared space. You saw the elderly gentleman. You've got other neighbors around, and if there's something that happens out there, you've got other caring eyes. Same thing with children. Same thing if you've got a stranger walking in, that somebody's going to come out and say, hey, are you looking for somebody? Can I help you? And so it's a sense of protected space because you've got eyes on shared space. Sometimes we think, oh, that's great there, but we don't think about it when you've got a big parking lot and you're coming home, it's dark, you're getting out of your car, and there's no eyes on shared space. I don't know how it is in Ghana. I know in some cities in the US, it's not a good idea. Right. And so there might be rooms above the garages, or there might be a little, think about it more as a lane with living units on the lane as some type of unit. So you've got active, engaged space.
Right.
So that's these are the patterns for this level of scale. I could take this in different directions now, but I just wanted to kind of get a sense of where you guys are and what you need, what questions you might have, where you want to go from here.
Okay, guys, so there you have it. Just a small portion of that webinar to give you an idea of what we're doing with Ross Chapin and his ideas on community and neighborhoods and design. So yeah, we're putting a lot of effort into making sure we get this thing right. As you've heard in that webinar, that this is on a very large scale. So yeah, so he's just kind of looking over our proposed master plan, and this is why we haven't been too quick to just say, here's the master plan, here's what we're doing, here's how we're going to lay it out, because this thing is not something that's, that's normal. It's a very large project. So we have hired some of the best minds, some of the best people in their fields to look at what we're doing and say, hey, guys, this is what you need to double check. This is what you need to go over. This is what you need to think about. So we're doing our due diligence, guys. We're just not throwing this thing out here just because it sounds like a good idea and just because we think we're smart. We realize that we needed to bring in some of the best minds to look at what we're doing, and then that's what we've done. So we're happy to have Ross Chapman look over what we're doing and to kind of help put some clarity around some questions that we had. So that was just a very small portion of an extensive webinar that we did with him, and we're glad that he took his time out, because the guy has projects like 3 years out. So he was so excited about what we're doing here in Ghana that he decided to make time for us because he was just extremely excited. But at any rate, if you like what we're talking about, go ahead. Hit that subscribe button, like, share, comments, tell us what you think, about what you saw. And you haven't already done so, go to our website, www.migratingculturecrossing.com, and take advantage of the half-price home promo. It is not going to last forever. In fact, it's going to end at the end of March. So please, if you haven't gotten all of your documentation in to us, your payment in to us, please get that in to us, and don't delay, because it ends at the end of March. So go ahead and make provisions to get everything taken care of. All right. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Eric McNeil. It's free. And as always, hoorah, ahuru. Now be free.